Something out of nothing, the culture grew from breaks. B-boys with fat laces helping DJs carry crates. 12 inches with the name covered up, 45 black with tape. Needle dropping on the get down part on the one, never late. Moonwalk look like skates, time is infinite like the 8. Build to destroy the devil's world, God body at the gate. In God we trust, the dollars we lust, catching crumbs off the cake. Now we bop to a beat on walls of concrete in Northern State. It was 88, we was victims of a scheme. It was all just a dream, but now my homie is a fiend. We live for the culture, but we kill for the cream. Trying to make the street light up, stay on your toes, Billie Jean.
How can you justify what you've taken culturally? You love to lie, to hide the truth. Do you really think you're me? Really think you're me? Think you're me? Think you're me?
It's like hip to the hibbit, flow liquid like exhibit. It'll create the culture with every breath as I live it. They try to prohibit, but I'm the master to pivot. No gimmicks on point like a digit. I'm like Malcolm, ready to rock it. Get your hand out my pocket. Everybody the gatekeeper, but y'all forgot to lock it. Swear by culture freedom, I got more vice than Substance Crockett. Now my boy Elroy, out to space like space's rockets. Truth be told, we was crushed from the cold. Niggas getting high off the dust from Sugar Hill. Now the truth gets sold with strippers on the pole. The light, just with rappers for the thrill. Get the rush from off one pill with flashes on the wheels. Singing white lines with my brothers and folding bills. Slinging white dimes when Uncle Joe wrote that bill. Around 94, fucking around with Hillary and Bill.
How can you justify what you've taken culturally? You love to lie, to hide the truth. Do you really think you're me? Think you're me? Think you're me? Think you're me?
It was go and tell. Now y'all go and tell. Hop on the gram, look, show and tell. No ethics and no codes, just cut the pie a la mode. Spinning red lights now lights the block like a strobe. Behold, the pale horse that he rode. Here to bring death with guns to unload. Conspiracy to conspire, there's a theory on the wire. When Cohen is a priest whose doctrine is the liar. Here to rob the hood, I keep it tucked like the friar. Grew into a man following rappers I admire. No more b-boys in the cypher, no more DJs catching breaks. And everybody in the trap with 45s wrapped in tape. The culture has been raped, pimped out, and straight flooded. Just like the Bronx in the 70s, everything gutted. Crusted, rusted, busted and disgusted. We should've shut it down when Chuck said not to trust it.
How can you justify what you've taken culturally? You love to lie, to hide the truth. Do you really think you're me? Really think you're me? Think you're me? Think you're, oh yeah. Think that you can do what I think that you can do what I do. You think that you can do what I do. You think that you can do what I do. Tell me, do you think you're me? Tell me, do you think you're me? You know you ain't me.
Joe. What up, what up, what up, what up? You see what it is? It's your boy Hakim Green on the Hakim Green Show. Representing live and direct, always live and direct. Man, today's show is a big one. I'm saying, you know, I played the video Stolen Art by myself featuring Carl Thomas, produced by Ron Lawrence. You know, stolen art because, you know, we have creators of the art and we have stealers of the art. And, you know, today's guest represents one of the creators of the art form and the culture we know as hip hop, Jimmy Love Jenkins, co-founder of Uptown Records and responsible for so many tremendous artists. I'm talking about record breakers, some of the biggest names in hip hop and R&B history is associated with this man right here. This guy has helped develop and nurture some very prominent careers. He was the launching pad for like a lot of historic shit in the culture, we call it. My brother, Jimmy Love, what up, brother?
What's going on, huh? What's happening?
Everything,
So, I
everything.
appreciate the way you brought me in. I just want to give a little additional information.
Oh, we're
You
gonna get
know,
into
so
everything, but go ahead, you take the floor. Go ahead.
yeah. So
Let them know.
I was one of the founders of Uptown Records,
Yep.
and from the beginning we had hit records, even when we did a compilation album with Heavy D and the Boys.
Uh-huh.
And Heavy went on to be the standout artist on that album, Uptown is Kicking It. And then
All
that
right, so
started the whole.
all right. Let me cut you short. Let me cut you short.
All right. I'm
Because
going too fast and
they're
forward.
going too fast. The plan is to get through all of that. But I want my audience to understand who James Jenkins is, Jimmy Love.
That's what
Like
I was getting to.
from day one, because your day one don't start with Uptown Records.
No,
No.
but it starts with Andre Harrell.
There you go. Right. And what year did you and Andre meet?
I met Andre in 1970.
See, that's a long way before Heavy D.
Yeah, that's some 8, 9 years old shit right there.
Right. And you were living where?
I was living in the Northeast Bronx, the great Northeast Bronx, which is very different from the rest of the Bronx.
Right.
But because and Andre lived in the Southeast Bronx.
But how'd you meet?
And
8, 9 years old.
so my cousin was Andre's best friend. And Andre, was like a good kid. He came from a good neighborhood at that time, where they would be playing street hockey and things like that. And he was a good kid. And I was more of hip hop was for the bad kids at that time.
Really?
So, like, yeah, the bad kids were the ones that weren't going to school, out in the street, developing the music, you know what I mean? And as I was growing up, I grew up with Raheem, and he was down with the Funky Four plus one more at first. He
Right.
was like a standout MC of the group. Shaw Rock was also another standout MC of the group.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up with Breakout. I grew up with a lot of historical hip hop DJs, DST, Grand Mixer DST, and he won the first Grammy in hip hop,
Mm.
and also Christopher Williams. Christopher Williams was like my son,
Really?
So we grew up in the same projects at the same time, Ewon projects, and
Even more project.
everybody I mentioned, either they was playing in the park parties, emceeing in the park parties, or DJing in the park parties in Ewon,
Mm-hmm.
or they were security, or they had something to do with the beginning stages of hip hop. Uptown really started doing it after her.
Mm-hmm. Well, you
And I
said
was born,
Uptown started doing it after her.
yeah,
So what?
after her. Like
So
Hurt
so
was the biggest thing
okay.
on the planet.
All right, because there was a lot of controversy last year about I guess certain folks feeling left out, or people felt that these certain names were left out, like Disco King Mario.
Disco King Mario was the king,
He was
but he didn't develop into the person that Kool Herc developed into. He was doing it probably before or at the same time.
okay.
But Herc comes from Pete DJ Jones. Pete
Mm-hmm.
DJ Jones was a famous DJ that came from Frankie Crocker, WBLS, who had all the verbiage, all the slick words, all the swag, all the everything. And then Pete DJ Jones started coming uptown to do this place in the Bronx called the Tunnel, where he was trying to bring the gangs together to get them to start partying with women and stop fighting. You know what I mean?
What
And
year
get
was this?
that's in 1969, damn near.
Damn.
Like,
See, all right. See, and that's why I'm glad I got you on here. Why I wanted to start when I say the beginning, like the very beginning, because you're
the
one of the
very
few
beginning,
people.
before Herc was even, he was carrying records for Pete DJ Jones.
Right.
Him, Rocky Bucano, who had the PDJ Jones was his cousin, who has the Universal Hip Hop
Hip hop
Museum
museum.
right now. Excuse
Yeah.
me, the Hip Hop
Salute to him.
Museum right now,
Salute to him.
and Red Alert. So all of them carry crates for PDJ Jones,
Wow. Is
and that's how they got their start. Then Hurt had, because he's Jamaican, he had all that the sound systems and everything
okay.
like that. He
Okay.
had all of that kind of stuff, man. And a lot of it developed from the dance hall. A lot of it,
Really?
and
So
so
again,
that's it. He brought that combination to hip hop,
right.
and then he was like the master of all hip hop at the time. Kool Herc, and Coke La Rock, Little Timmy Tim, and DJ Clark Kent. You know what I mean? And they did a place called the Hevelo. And then the Executive Playhouse. It's the same building. They changed the name from the Hevelo to the Executive Playhouse.
Okay.
And Hurt was like followed. And then years later, Bambaataa, Flash, and everybody comes after that.
Right. Wow.
And,
Okay.
and Disco King Mario and Smokey definitely were instrumental, but they didn't blow up like Herc did. They
Gotcha.
didn't get the attention like Herc did, and it was well deserved too.
Yeah. Like talking to various legends, pioneers, people who were down from the beginning, and talking about the origins of hip hop, what year did it start? And they go, it was pre 1973. There was things going on before that. Talking to
Way
deep.
before that.
Yeah, see, you were there, so you could actually verify and validate the idea that hip hop was alive and well before 1973. But was it called hip hop though?
It was called rap music.
It was called rap music, but it was like so.
It was
When we say
called
like the
rapping,
culture,
and then you get hip hop from MCs going hip hop, hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Before the Sugar Hill Gang.
right. But talking to various folks and them highlighting b-boys and b-girls and breakdancing and dancing to the breaks.
They were started with PDJ Jones with the gangs, and then the girls and guys were breakdancing together like a dance. It was a dance. Then when they started taking it to the ground and spinning on their head and all that shit and taking it outside of the club and into the parks, the girls weren't so much prevalent at the time. And then it just became a lot of guys spinning on boxes, and when it became a guy thing, and it blew up out of that. Now also graffiti comes from a lot of the gangs tagging. Before the trains and all that, they used to tag everywhere or go to Martin's Paint, steal paint out of there, and tag the walls, spray the walls, and all that kind of stuff. It was called tagging. And then it started with the trains and stuff like after that. And then it bridged into hip hop. You know what I mean? It bridged into hip hop. Same thing in breakdancing. It was the music first, you know what I mean? And then all the dancing came afterwards.
Now, where would you put DJ Hollywood in this mix? Because people always speak very highly.
Because DJ Hollywood was DJing, but he was doing more of the hard bottom shoes, brown blazer shit. You know what I mean? The adult after hour spots, you had to have a blazer on, like at 371. That was on in the West Bronx or Webster Projects over there, and they had what you call the Godfather limousine over there. You know what I mean? Right across the street, and then there was 371. And then there was Nate's gambling spot right across the street from that. So you would be in 371 till 6 in the morning. And Hollywood and Eddie Chiba started doing it. And when they started doing it, they brought it to another level. He's the first one to do the Apollo, and then he's the first one to do Madison Square Garden. But it was already going on at that time. Like Disco King Mario was big, but he was only big in the Bronx. And he's
Gotcha.
definitely one of the pioneers. Smokey was only big in the Bronx and in Westchester.
Right. So, again, dealing with the controversies and the debates, you got people who say, oh, hip hop was going on outside of the Bronx. You had DJ
Uh,
Robert
I, I,
Queens.
Yeah, I don't think
DC from
any of that.
Brooklyn.
Disco Twins from Queens, they come later on too, and they were like you said, they was disco guys. You know what I mean? At first, they dance music guys, and then hip hop just took over dance music and disco. You know, because before when hip hop first came, the rap first came. You know, you had Donna Summers, Village People. You had niggas having records. You know what I mean? Like they weren't even playing on these records in the garage. Frankie Crocker brings uh, Run DMC's first record to the garage, and that those are two famous DJs, Frankie Knuckles and Larry Levan.
Larry Levan.
And
Yeah.
and if you was a regular uptown hip hop nigga, you couldn't even get in the garage. You know what I mean? You don't
No,
get in the garage until 20 years later. You know
yeah,
what I
because
mean?
I started hearing about the Paradise Garage in like the 80s. I'm a young guy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So like even when you talking about, you met Andre when you was 8, 9 in 1970, right? But then
Right.
you talking about, all these parties, these clubs where adult entertainment is prevalent, especially at that time, because we have this thing called the life. And
Yeah.
if you was in the life, you saw certain things,
Right.
and it wasn't as a lot of
But
things weren't hidden. It was kind of out in the open.
yeah, so the life, it comes much, much later. But when Bambaataa and those guys were doing it at the Roxy, and even before the Roxy, it was doing at Bronx River, community center and all that kind of shit. And
Okay.
all these guys, it just started growing and budding. So you got Kool Herc, then you got Bambaataa and Grandmaster Flash. Maybe they come simultaneously, but Kool Herc was the absolute king at that time. That's the West Bronx. So the
Okay.
Bronx is cut up into the Northeast Bronx is Breakout. All right. The West Bronx is Kool Herc, who's the king and the master of it all. And then the South Bronx is Grandmaster Flash, and the Southeast Bronx is Bambaataa.
Oh wow.
And Bambaataa takes off when he brings it downtown, but he comes downtown and blows up at the Roxy. So he's playing the Roxy when he had Planet Rock, and
Uh-huh.
it blows out of the water. He brings the whole Zulu Nation downtown and everything. One day he didn't show up. DST, who grew up in the same projects as me, Edmore Projects,
Uh-huh.
goes down there and blows. He takes Bambaata's place and blows up and winds up winning the first Grammy in hip hop with Herbie Hancock.
Yeah, the Rocket.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rocket. Every DJ mimicked that record right there. DXT's cuts and scratches on Rocket.
Right. So
That's
every
like that's
school
like
that
that's
I
like a
went
template
to,
record.
right. Every
Yeah.
school that I went to since fifth grade to all the high schools I went to, fifth grade, junior high schools, all the high schools I went to, and I went to two.
Hmm.
DeWitt Clinton High School. I left there because they didn't have no girls. So I broke out immediately and I went to Truman High School in Co-op City. I
Hey.
went to Truman High School in Co-op City that had all the girls, all the fly cars, all the gangsters' children went there,
Uh-huh.
professional athletes,
Mhm.
the top MCs on the planet went there. Raheem was in my
Wow.
class from the Furious Five.
My name is
Uh,
Raheem, the son of a queen. Don't give me
exactly.
king of
The
my
kid,
castle. Don't give me no
you know,
hassle.
yeah.
Yeah.
To me, they had to get him from Breakout and them to dim his light and let Melly Mel take it over and go to the next level. Don't get me wrong, Mel is the king too, but
Yeah.
Raheem is the king. You know what I
Wow.
mean? And he's a different kind of king. And you know what I
Yeah.
mean? His MC skills is superior to damn near everybody
Really?
at that time.
Damn. So I'm a fan. Grandmaster Flash and Furious Five, the whole
Right,
crew.
right.
Raheem, Mel, Scorpio,
Keith
King
Cowboy.
Creole, Keith Cowboy, rest in peace. These jokers is like superheroes in my mind in 81, 82. And
Exactly.
there's this whole history going on in the 70s that you were able to sit with the bird's eye view and not only witness it, but be a part of the whole movement. Like to see that
Grand
early.
Wizard Theodore. I
Hmm.
seen all of that. I was in I forgot the name of the park where, there's massive shootouts there on a regular, you know what I'm
Wow.
saying? Hip hop. But
Uh-huh.
that's where all the music came and the DJ was the star at that time. People would just be surrounding the DJ to watch Flash cut it up, Theodore cut it up, or whoever was doing their thing at the time. And then the MC was a big thing after that. And then, Shop Rock was like 15, 16 years old when I first see her. And, she's a queen. You know that
Yes, she
for a
is.
fact.
Yes,
You
she
know,
is.
and then Raheem, like I said, he used to be in my class with the waves, and he had a whole different disposition than Melly Mel had. You know what I mean?
Uh,
And then they go to London and bug out and start wearing leopard skin boots and shit like that, and turn into Apaches, and
right.
then
So
allow.
what year was that when they started with the
I think that they started that shit early, man, in like 1982 or so, 1980, maybe even before that. Because I
wow.
was in high school. So I graduated 1980 from high school. I went to one of the flyest high schools in New York City. Like we had all the chicks, all the fly whips, all the everything. You know what I mean? Like, all the kids from Harlem would come up to my school and want to come up there and scoop up the girls and all that. And Andre wasn't no different. He went to Charles Evan Hughes, and he wound up coming uptown to my school. And he's like, "Yo," I used to tell him, like, "You in the great Northeast Bronx, baby. This is the Uptown. Like, you know what I'm saying? We run Harlem. We got the fresh haircuts. You know what I'm saying? We got the fresh gear. We got Cool Herc, but he's from the West Bronx, but we got him that influenced our whole style, swag, everything. You know what I
Right.
mean?
All right. So I need you to go in on this point right here because every borough and every section of New York City has its own style, its own way of moving. And we say uptown.
I think
Uptown is super fly. So I need you to really explain the essence of uptown culture for people.
okay, uptown culture is based on education. I'm just gonna say this because I'm not promoting it.
Right.
Drug dealers that international drug dealers that are like just different from your average one. They actually traveled around the world and they have an influence of style, fashion, education, and they're in the music business and they have master's degrees. You know what I mean? So that was like a mentality. And I'm not gonna mention names, but they were very relevant in the music industry and influencing all the style, fashion, the attitude. Um, they, let's start off with Harlem. Harlem is during the Renaissance era was a real important era because it was so influential in terms of fashion, music, dancers, style, gangsters, drug addicts, you know what I mean? Jazz musicians. So you had Charlie Bird, you know what I
Charlie
mean?
Brown.
You had Bird, you had Miles Davis, you had Quincy Jones when he was a kid, 13, 14, 15 years old, running around with, you know, my man Ray. You know, you
Ray
had
Charles.
Ray Charles, that's what I mean. And, you had all these different people that influenced. You had Oni Madden, who was an Irish gangster that owned Cotton Club. He was a highly fashionable, and they made money. You had Lucky Luciano, that was highly fashionable. You had Dutch Schultz, that was, he had a certain fashion. He ran the Bronx, but they all descended in the Cotton Club. Then they started influencing, and the black guys started influencing them. Bumpy Johnson and these guys started influencing, and there's a lot of fashion and history in this Renaissance era in Harlem. But these people come from different boroughs and they descend on Harlem, you know what I mean? And they were important to the contribution of it. Like, for instance, Lionel Hampton, you had the big band people, you
Mhm.
had, like I said, you had different Zora Neale Hurston, who was an author who was
Mhm.
brilliant. Then you had Langston Hughes, who was a poet that was brilliant. They descended on Harlem, and they brought different things. You had people that brought fashion, style, influence from the people that were around in the music. So that's why you have this mix of people in Harlem right now. They don't even know that Harlem, Bronx, Brooklyn, that there were people before them that
Yep.
influenced the way that they think and the
That's
way
right.
that they make music. You know what I mean? And they probably never even heard a record before. But Bert and those guys will go in the studio and don't know how to fucking read music, but they were able to create music right off the bat. And a lot of that goes on in hip hop today.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Like
you
that
don't have to.
commentary. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
they were cutting and pasting before that was even a thing.
Yeah. That commentary for me is very important because it gives you context to why things come out the way they do and why there's a certain flair. Why things are communicated is to understand the history and what is born out of.
Right.
So Uptown New
When,
York, especially Harlem, is just considered, it's very fly and stylish in the way they do things, and it shows in the music, shows in the
so there's two
presentation.
uptowns. There's the Northeast Bronx, that's
Hmm.
considered uptown,
Okay,
and then the main one is Harlem.
it's
You know
Harlem.
what I mean? And a lot of the people from Harlem, like a lot of people from Brooklyn, they moved to
Hmm.
Queens and then they moved to Long Island for a better life. At that time, not so much now. A lot of people from Harlem will move to the Northeast Bronx and then move to Westchester for a better life. So that's
Yeah,
the way that it went.
yeah. Now, since we in Harlem, let's talk about Harlem World and how important that is to the culture.
Harlem World. That's where you have Dougie Fresh. That's where you have Kumo D, the Treacherous Three. That's where you had all Andre, Dr. Jekyll, and Mr. Hyde.
Hmm.
You have all those guys that developed out of Harlem World. Like a lot of people developed out of the Cool Herc era and the Bambaataa era and the Grand Wizard Theodore era, but
Yeah,
none of them have. I'm not going to say they haven't been able to take it to the next level, but for instance, you take Dougie Fresh. Dougie Fresh was there since Harlem World, you know what I mean? And he did all the joints in Harlem because it's in Manhattan. You get a lot of attention, you know what I mean? Because, it's Manhattan. Harlem's part of Manhattan, so you get a lot of attention. Your name starts to grow with your success and everything like that. People start to know who you are. And right now, Dougie Fresh is a worldwide name right now. And if you could look at like his catalog, I don't know if it's that extensive or not, but I haven't heard that many records from him. But I know that he's able to work as a showman and as the greatest
entertainer
entertainer
live. Yep.
alive. You know what I mean? He's the greatest alive because he has the ability to communicate with people through dance and doing a beatbox and being a part of somebody else's show. And he can take it, shape it, design it, and take your show to the next level. For instance, I just did this show for the Hip Hop Museum, and I
Hmm.
had Dougie Fresh
I
work
saw
with
that.
me. Yeah,
I saw that.
Father MC, Christopher Williams, Jeff Red, and Mr. Cheeks. And he helped both of those guys, all of those guys, go to the next level.
Yeah.
He assimilated into their show. So, it's a journey, this whole thing. And I haven't even got into from where we start in the game to where we at now.
Yeah. Well, now I think it's a good time to probably transition into you and Andre's relationship, friendship, business relationship, Uptown Records. How does that come into being? Like we say, there was things going on right before there was Uptown Records. How did that manifest in what we know of as this empire?
Well, well, everything these guys influenced us. Andre was an MC, and so was Alonzo, his partner,
Dr.
Mr.
Jekyll and
Hyde.
Mr. Hyde.
And Alonzo comes from 110th Street, Second Avenue, and Andre comes from. He would kill me if I told people this, because he didn't want to come from there, but he comes from Sonia Mayor. There's a project. It used to be Bronxdale Projects,
Okay.
and he comes from there. But he spent every day of his life as he started becoming an MC, being in Harlem World, and the Renaissance Ballroom, and all the clubs in Harlem. You know what I mean? And he always wanted to, and like me too, we always wanted to be from Harlem because of the Renaissance era, the fashion, the style, and so we knew each other as kids. But at 13, 14 years old, we started doing parties at 127. And we would have Disco King Mario there, and we would have Bambaataa there, and various rap groups that were starting to rise in the culture and everything like that at the time. And so that was our first business relationship. He was 14, I was 13, and he would be the one. collecting all the money. Then, as he got older, at 16, 17, he goes and raises money to be on Profile Records when his first record comes out. And we go on the road with Ricky Walker, the Fresh Fest. So 17, 18, he's in the Fresh Fest going around the world, going around the country first, because that's the first hip hop tour. And everybody's on the Fresh Fest. Biz Markie is on the Fresh Fest. It's just everybody that
Yeah.
was at that time. You know, Houdini was on there. Everybody that was starting, LL was on there. Run DMC was on there. And you know, one of the things Andre did and noticed, because they always put faith in him to go handle the business. All the groups always put faith in him. So he gets hired by Russell Simmons at Def Jam and becomes the vice president of Def Jam. So 19, 18, 19, 20, he goes to Lehman College, right? So I'm just coming out of high school, and I went to a trade school, and he seen me on an elevator one day, and he was rehearsing at this place that I was in the trade school, and I'm on the elevator, and he's like, "Yo, what's up? What you doing?" I said, "Yo, I'm going to school to be a printer." And he was like, "You want to be a printer? You want to be a printer? That's what you want to do with your life? What the fuck is that?" And, and so he made me quit that shit then and there. And then after that, I enrolled in Lehman College. So
Ah, nice.
him, Alonzo, Kurt Woodley, and myself. So now I'm gonna explain to you who Alonzo is. Alonzo did the TV and film for Uptown. Strictly Business, all of those things, you know, along with Rolando and Pam. Alonzo Brown did a lot of the television stuff he did. Then he
That's
goes
the
on to
other
do,
half of Dr. Jekyll and Mr.
yeah,
Hyde for the
the
folks
other
listening.
half for Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Then he goes on to do New York Undercover, and then he goes on writing it, and then he goes on to do Honey and Strictly Business.
Yeah,
So those are some of his credits. And then
yeah.
Andre begins, you know, we would go to the library every day and pick out looks. So Andre and Alonzo and those guys used to try to pattern themselves some things after Wynton Marcellus. And we would be looking at Vogue, we were going through magazines for looks.
Suit and
Like
tie.
they wanted to be the suit and tie rappers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But after a while, once they seen LL tear this whole shit down, they knew they couldn't compete with that. Nigga. They knew they couldn't compete with that at all. So Andre was like, "Fuck this! I'm gonna become a businessman," and he was the first one to dive in it. While at Lehman College, we hired him to perform there, along with the Temptations, Miles Davis, Chaka Khan,
Now,
Prince.
okay. Now, you guys at the time, what they say, 18, 19, 20,
Yeah, yep.
right? And this is like, what year is this?
This is 82.
82. Early,
Eight,
early.
early,
All right, so if
very
you don't
early.
mind, if you
80,
don't mind,
80 to 82.
80 to 82. If you don't mind, I want to put a pin in it right there because I got something I need you to contextualize for us. All right, so we see what hip hop rap music is today, right? And how big it is. It's ubiquitous. It's everywhere. You can't avoid it. You know what I mean? It seems like it's just you breathe in hip hop. It's just everywhere. But there was a time when hip hop was nowhere but where, like the Bronx, Jersey, Queens, Brooklyn,
Right,
Philly,
right.
like it wasn't everywhere. And
Yeah, it
somebody
wasn't
had
in
to open
DC.
the
Yeah, go there. It wasn't in DC or beyond that, really.
no. It's like you creating something out of nothing. There is no platform. Radio ain't fucking with hip hop like that. There's not like this mass media thing that's dedicated in promoting hip hop or rap. And you guys created the lane for everybody else. And
Right.
as you say these names in 1980, 82, you say these names and you guys are doing shows with the Temptations. You guys are doing shows introducing rap music to another audience, getting ears ready for this thing that's about the domino effect. Just talk to that for people.
And so during college, Andre had his gifts. Kurt Woodley had his gifts. He was the A&R for all the artists that we had at Uptown at first. You know what I mean? And including Heavy D. He's the one that found Mary J. Blige. You know what I mean? He trained Puff Daddy was his intern before it was mine. And then he was my intern, and then he becomes Andre's intern. So they all had their gifts. And I'm coming fresh from the streets in high school, like, I'm not getting dressed up with no bow ties, suits and ties, none of that shit. I've got hip hop gear on. And they converted my whole mentality. So I invented something called a street team. I invented it along with my man Chuck Bone, who named it for me. I trained him, showed them how to do it. So when I do these major concerts, and like I said, all the concerts that I mentioned, and also Dance Theater Harlem, the Irish Rain Dance, Celia Cruz, Tito Puente, you know what I mean? There's just so many different acts. Chaka Khan, all of these people performed at Lehman College's 2,300 seat theater, 2,400 seat theater. So I needed a street team to help me promote it. And we went to record stores, we went to restaurants, we went to everywhere. We posted everything on the walls everywhere. We didn't have any radio money. So we had to make our presence known. We went to every club, and I would hire, young people because we had budgets from the school. So I would hire a group of young people to come together and start giving out the flyers and stuff. And some of these cats were so young they couldn't even come to the party or the event because that's how young they were. You know what I mean? I also started the first Big Brother program in hip hop, and not in the record business, by hiring a young man that went on to work for Puff Daddy, went on to work for Electra Records, went on to work for, and his name is Jerome. I forgot his last name, but he was like 12 years old when I hired him, getting paid the grown man salary because that's how he was working at the time.
Wow.
And so I started building street crews around the country. So everything we did, everybody, even if it was in New York, everybody around the country will have an idea what's going on without radio spreading the word and everything. Then when the rap shows came, which they were here for a long time in the 80s, you had New York, you had Philly, like you said, but then it started to pop up in Houston, then it started to pop up in LA. You know what I mean? LA really, when they came, they really made their presence known. And then they started having it, they forced their way on a major radio station, K-Day. And
Okay.
that wasn't even a major radio station. That was on the AM at the time.
Wow.
But they made that station single-handedly blow up. You know what I mean? And Greg Mann, I think, was the program director there. And they didn't like to pay any East Coast stuff at first, but they had to because before NWA, that's all they really had.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all they really had.
When we
But
saying like groups like, I'm sorry, okay.
no, you go ahead.
When we talking about groups like, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, Houdini, the Fat Boys, Run DMC, LL, like these cats are you guys are taking these people around, these artists around to doors that ain't open, and you gotta open them.
You
So
gotta
that's
go to record stores. You gotta go. You gotta go to all the after hour spots in every city, clubs. You know what I mean? And you lived through all kinds of mayhem in the rap industry at that time because it wasn't really an industry. It doesn't really get organized as an industry until Russell Simmons steps on the scene. And long before the fever or any of that other stuff that was here, you know what I mean? It was Cool Herc. It was Disco King Mario. It was the Bronx that had all these clubs, and then Harlem had all the after hour spots. You know what I mean? So you would be in the after hour spots like SNS, who DJ SNS is named after. You would be there, and it was above Willie Burgers. So you would be in there at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and you would see a superstar in there, singing, from Main Ingredients, Cuba Gooding Jr., singing something going round inside my head. You know what I mean? Like live. and then it'd be like the record right in front of your face at like 5:30 in the morning. And they had after hour spots all over New York City, Brooklyn, everywhere, and that's where like young boys wasn't allowed. It was you if you was a young boy in there, you was extremely cool, and you had to be with somebody that sanctioned you to get in there.
Damn.
You
And
know,
this is what year? What year is this?
this is this is 75, 76. You know what I mean? This is that. This is then, and they had a car company by the name of OJ. So
Oh yeah.
OJ just huge, and it was like I said, it was right across the street from 371. You
So
know
the
what I
name
mean?
of the car company was OJ.
OJ, and then it had some tax problems, and they changed their name to El Dorado and several other names afterward. But
But you know,
originally, it was the OJ, and you know where when Kaz wrote the
yeah.
Sugar Hill record, he
Uh-huh.
said "Right off in the fresh OJ."
The Friday for Fresh OJ, yeah.
Yeah. So, like I
Wow.
said, you know,
See, I
this
always
right
thought
here got to be an interview hop that it's got to have 3 parts because it's too long. It's too long. My history is too deep, and
Nah, man, but that's like that shit is important information because this whole time I'm thinking OJ was just a term for a rental car because Hertz was a
right,
rental car.
right,
Like
yeah,
Hertz was a rental car, so I figure OJ used to do the commercials for Hertz, and y'all just called it a OJ
yeah.
because it's a rental car. Like, nah,
Let
you
me
talking
tell you
about
something.
actual company was
Right,
called OJ. Oh,
exactly.
okay.
Yeah.
Clarity just said it.
So
That shit's
OJ,
crazy.
so OJ was in the West Bronx. And like I
Wow.
said, it's right across the street from 371.
Yeah.
Webster Projects, all that shit over there. You know what I mean? The Nine crew with Flash. And then you had the Emo crew with Breakout. And then you had the Herculoids for Cool Herc.
Right.
And he had the coolest crew. It was the West Bronx. They was cool. They had before Run DMC had the baby velour hats and the leather
Uh-huh.
blazers and the patent leather shoes from Floor Shines or Gators or whatever. You had niggas dressing like that in the spot at Cool Herc's joint.
That's
And they
crazy.
had niggas that could hustle, and then he would blend like a break beat with Martin Luther King and different R&B records, and that's how the hip hop and R&B records began. We didn't invent it. Cool Herc and other they always would be
Wait,
mixing
wait,
records.
wait. Please say that again because I want to make a connection. Run that back, please.
We didn't invent the hip hop and R&B. Kool Herc and other people like Disco King, Mario, Smokey, Grand Mixer, DST, other people were already mixing records. What we did was organize it and make it a business and make it a style. Take that style and be able to sell it on a platform that made it a worldwide
All right,
product.
give us some for instances of that chemistry, so people really understand what you mean.
So all the records that Heavy D did, they had James Brown break beats, right?
Uh-huh.
We got the break beats from Disco King, Mario, Smokey, Kool Herc, Theodore. They were doing that long before us. They just didn't make it and couldn't. I'm not gonna say they couldn't. They didn't take it to the next level. Andre Harrell took it to the next level. He took it to the boardroom and made them understand. That's what separated us from all the other artists that was out there. We weren't the best, but we had the best music and the best artists to fit that music to take it to the next level. And the only company that was able to do that was Motown with
Hmm.
Barry Gordy.
Yeah, for sure.
But Kool Herc used to do the Blackbirds, Rock Creek Park, or Happy Music, and
Yeah.
mix it with Apache, and then you would have Eddie Chiba, not Eddie Chiba, Coke Rock rapping over it. There was another rapper by the name of Little Timmy Tim that was incredible. He rivaled Melly Mel or anybody in Flash's crew. He was part of Herc's crew, and then DJ Clark Kent.
Now
And
there was
it's
rest in
not the
peace
same
to
Clark
DJ
Kent.
Clark Kent that everybody knows, but there was another
Yeah.
Clark Kent that
Right.
I didn't know.
And
Wow.
Clark, that was my man. You know that was my man. He used to be lying a little bit to me about he was DJ Clark Kent. I was like, nigga, you wasn't even born. You wasn't even born. Yeah. Or if you was baby.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, nah. Somebody was
But
like, nah, the Clark Kent from the Bronx, because that Clark Kent's actually from Brooklyn.
right.
So I'm like,
Exactly.
nah, Clark Kent's from Brooklyn. Like, nah, there's another Clark Kent prior to that Clark Kent.
Right.
I'm like,
And
damn.
and then as hip hop progresses, and these guys started fighting to stay in the game because you got to start having new artists coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Big Daddy Kane, all these artists started coming. Heavy D, all these Cool G Rap, all these are new artists really
Mm-hmm.
to hip hop. They new to hip hop, and then
Yeah.
they blow up, and a lot of the old school rappers disappear. One thing that I'm happy about is that there's a resurgence, and
Yes.
now we get to hear them again,
Yeah.
and they're making more money than they made the first time around.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, there was an event, Universal Hip Hop Museum did an event last
Yeah.
week that you were involved in. Can
Yeah.
you talk about that? What was that about?
Yeah, so it was a gala for the museum, a fundraiser at Cipriani's, a place where Andre Harrell and Puff Daddy used to give parties there. And
Mm-hmm.
it was huge parties. That's the big stage right there. And we helped the Hip Hop Museum make their mark. We had, I did the Uptown segment of it, and I executive produced that along with Dougie Fresh. And Dougie Fresh curated the whole thing. So he designed the whole show with Father MC, with Mr. Cheeks, Jeff Red, and Christopher Williams. He designed the whole show where he was a part of that and took it to a whole nother level. And it was like uh, you know, one of the best things of that night, put it that way. We sold to a sold out audience that stayed and watched our show when it was late, and they still was there, and we tore the roof off the motherfucker.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. I would. I wish I was there.
Right, right.
I
So
saw.
it
I
was,
saw. I saw the video with Dougie doing the harmonica and the
yeah,
beatbox. I'm
the
like, yo,
harmonica and the bebop. And the incredible thing about Dougie
crazy.
Fresh, the incredible thing about him is he jumped out to California that the same week.
Hmm.
We jumped out to California, did a gala, another gala there, and it was for the thing where they honored Cool G Rap and Grand Pooba, and they give each one of these artists like $500,000 to $1 million,
Of course.
and it's with the guy Ben Horowitz, who Steve Stout,
Hmm.
Nas, all of them are getting money with, and
Yeah.
it was incredible. Dougie.
Hello. Yo. You there? I got so much more to talk to this man about. Ah. Y'all see, this brother knows like hip hop. He lived this. He lived this shit. Like we talking about. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. You there? Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2. We got visuals. Can we get some audio? I can't hear you. I don't know if you can hear me. We got Mr. Jimmy Love Jenkins on the 1 2, y'all. We talking about co-founder Uptown Records. We talking about somebody who watched hip hop grow and become what it is today. We have him come back in. Yeah, and we almost an hour in, and I could easily talk to this man another 2-3 hours. Like there's so much to talk about in terms of hip hop, the culture, the music business, the different artists that he's worked with, everybody from Father MC all the way down to Heavy D and Mary J. Blige, and the list goes on and on. All the greats that he's got the chance to work with, not just in music, but in TV and film. So many stories. I wanted to talk to him about Father MC. I want to talk to him about Christopher Williams. I want to talk to him about, Andre Harrell and Alvin Brown, hopping into the movie business with Strictly Business. I want to talk about that. Man, I can go on and on and on about how much I want to talk. with this brother about on the HAKIM Green Show. But as you see, we try to give you the realness each and every time on this platform as we doing all the things that we do, Madism TV, Madism Sports, and the rest. Here we go. What we doing? What we doing?
All
To
right.
God. To
We
God,
we
to God,
dropped
to
that.
God, to God. Peace, God, peace, God, peace, God.
Peace. What's up?
Yeah, man. So you got cut off. I don't know if I forgot what you were saying, but there is something I wanted to ask you specifically about Father MC and how important he is to the culture.
Extremely important. Father MC was the one that gave Mary an opportunity on his first record. And he also gave Jodeci their first opportunity first on his record, though. And he did several records with them, introducing them to the world. And you know what I mean? And they both blew up as a result of being on his records.
Yeah,
And also he worked diligently to, make his records work. You know what I mean? Nobody gave him nothing. He worked hard to make those records work because he was up against a lot of different people. Bobby
yeah,
Brown, also Big Daddy Kane,
Kane, yeah,
a lot of
yeah,
the people that probably sold more records than him or not. But he had the, like I said, I was so instrumental in promotion that I ran the whole promotion and marketing team at Uptown. So,
yeah.
you have, we would go to all the restaurants, clubs, everywhere, whether it was St. Louis, whether it was, wherever hip hop was budding, we would go in that market and blow it out.
Yeah, yeah. Father MC was like, what year was that? Was that 89?
Yeah, it was '89 coming out, and
89.
right after Heavy, first we had the Uptown's Kicking It album where we had Finesse and Sinquist on there, and we had different various artists on there, Groove Be Chill, a lot of
Uh,
different artists were on there, and then
mhm.
Heavy had the standout record, Mr. Big Stuff on there.
Yeah,
And that's how we go into Heavy's first album. But during Heavy's first album, we find this young man who Heavy brought to the table and Eddie F brought to the table named Al B. Shore.
yeah,
And then I'll Be Sure won the Sony Innovators Award. And, we introduced him to Quincy, and the rest is history with him, too. And he was a triple platinum album. And then we have Heavy and him. So we had our first two platinum plus albums coming out of the box when we did our major label deal with Universal. And it was MCA at the time.
damn. And that was year number, was it? He said 80, 87, 88,
84 to 88.
84 to 88. Oh,
So
man.
there was a whole Uptown crew before Father even gets there. We made records already, and then we get Father MC, who was like a hip hop and R&B star. You know what I mean? That's what he flows off of.
Yeah.
And Heavy still don't get his credit for being a hip hop and R&B star. Now the guy that made it all in the beginning was Teddy
You said,
Riley.
but you said he doesn't or Heavy doesn't.
I think both of them do. Heavy definitely doesn't get his flowers, like he should. Heavy's the
Yeah,
first to do everything, like what I'm saying. Reggae rap,
yeah.
also made hip hop and R&B smashes with Teddy
Mhm.
Riley, with Eddie F, with different various producers that we had. You know what I mean? So that's the first thing. But he's also the first one to do a record with Michael Jackson and Janet Jackson and
That's
be in
right.
videos, dancing,
That's right.
and rapping. And then he does the Stop the Violence with all the top rappers at the time.
Yeah,
And then, you know what I mean?
self-destruction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So he don't really get credit for none of that. And when I used to
Why,
fight
why,
with
why do you
David
why do you
Mays and
think
those
that is? Why do
guys,
you think that is?
because I mean, you got a lot of cats that don't really understand. You don't got to be fucking hardcore to be hip hop. You know what I mean? Because hip hop, our whole thing was about the celebration. That's what Andre's whole thing was about. He really never cared about anything else other than celebrating hip hop and the people in it. If you was fly, you could have been the janitor at fucking Uptown Records. You know what I'm saying? You getting invited to the party. But
Mhm.
you could be the president of Uptown Records, and if you a cornball, you're not even getting invited to the party. You know what I'm saying? And we had an invisible force
Yeah.
field up for any retarded niggas that came through. Like
Yeah.
you wasn't getting invited. Like a lot of people were still pissed that they never got invited to the party. Like they can't really understand it. You know what I mean? But if you was like a, you know, you had a thing about you, and you was invited,
Yeah.
and that's what Andre seen in Puff. Because the first time I bought Puff in Andre's office, um, Andre said, "Get this black ugly nigga out of my office." 2, 3 times of me bringing him in there.
Hold on. All right. So, how did you meet Puff?
Heavy brings him to the table. I didn't meet him at first. Heavy brings him to the table, tries to get him an internship with Andre, and Andre was like, absolutely not. So he gets Kurt Woodley to make him his intern. So Kurt Woodley makes Puff his intern. So Kurt was having issues with Andre at the time, and wound up having to leave. And so Puff became my intern. And so while Puff would be on me every day, like, yo, could you get me a meeting with Andre? And I'll be like, absolutely not. You know, no. And I need you to go to Junior's and get me a slice of cheesecake and hurry up. And that's the kind of shit I used to do there. That's where he gets it. When you see him talk about the cheesecake, that's where he gets it from, nigga. First of all, these niggas get everything from me. The haircuts, the fly socks, the fly uniforms, the whole thing comes from me. If you look at Puff's daddy swag and look at my swag, it comes from me.
I
All
know
right?
that.
He got certain things from Russell and Andre, but he got all that other shit from me. And I didn't get some of the shit he got at all. You know
Right.
what I mean? But so it was a learning experience for Puff. And like I said, he was on me so hard and he could take any level of abuse because in his mind he was like, I'm gonna pay all these niggas back. You know? and, and so I would keep bringing him to Andre. I would keep bringing him to Andre. And like I said, man, you know, Andre finally let him sit in his office. And once he sat in his office, he scooped up all the game, everything. He listened to every call, every move Andre made, how he moved, what kind of car he drive, what kind of shoes he wore, what kind of music he listened to. And, you know, he was like the best intern on the planet Earth because he was smarter than everybody. He outsmarted. Matter of fact, he was too smart for his own britches.
Well, that's a whole other story.
Right.
This is a
But
celebration of hip
but he
hop.
was genius.
Oh my God.
And his contribution should never be ignored.
No, not at all.
Because
Absolutely not.
he developed hip hop and R&B. Andre gave him the roadmap. Uptown gives him the roadmap because he trained under Eddie F, Teddy Riley,
Yeah.
Devontae. You know, he does the Jodeci album. Andre gave him things to work on with assistance from all the Corey Rooney and Mark Morales. You know, just different people, and he learned the art of making hip hop and R&B. And the whole
Man, he,
thing is
ma-
like our
yeah,
whole
he
doctrine.
mastered it. He mastered
Yeah,
it. Like,
yeah.
honestly speaking, no one has done it bigger in terms of taking
No,
culture and
no.
music form and entertainment form on a mogul level. I
Yeah,
mean, Jay's doing a phenomenal job in what he's doing in that respect.
right.
But Puff is kind of like the template, but you're the template of the template, though.
And
Like,
Andre is the template of all the templates. You know what I mean? Because all he really wanted to do was okay, is make high powered music and have somewhere to go out and party with his friends every night. And his friends consisted of Russell Simmons, Naomi Campbell, Leonardo DiCaprio, Bruce Willis, but it also consisted of the young people, Puff Daddy, Jay-Z. All of these guys were influenced by Andre Harrell and Uptown Records. All of
absolutely. Russell
them.
Simmons is a very important name you
Uh-huh.
keep bringing up, and it's like, for what Russell means to the music industry. He's another one of those guys who opened doors that weren't open to us 30,
Right.
40 years. Talk
Right.
about Russ
Well,
and his influence in the culture.
Russ is the first to do everything. Russ is the first to do everything. You know what I mean? He's the first to curate and make hip hop a business, uh, along with um along with Rick Rubin, and he's also the first to make uh, going out to high-powered restaurants with Basquiat, with Andy Warhol, with all
Hmm.
the high-powered models, with everybody. He's the first to put all that together. You know what I
Really?
mean? And he's also the first to be able to come up with ideas like Walk This Way to sell, running them to do that stuff with
Hmm.
those guys that blew up crazy and blew them out of the frame. That
Yeah.
was Russell Simmons' idea. And he also knew how to manage, like he used to manage Curtis Blow and
Yeah.
run with the son of Curtis Blow as a DJ. So that's all Russell Simmons, putting the clubs together, putting the stadiums together. And Rick Rubin was just learning. And Rick Rubin learns how to play the drum machine and all that from Jazzy J, from Bambaata's crew.
Yeah.
And Jazzy J is a legend in itself.
Well, while you're there, talk about Party Time Records.
I don't even know Party Time Records.
Wasn't Party Time before Def Jam? That Tila Rock record came out on what? Party
Oh
Time.
yeah, but that I thought that was
I
that
thought that
Tila
was
Rock
Jazzy.
record.
That was
Yeah,
Jazzy.
that was Jazzy teaching Rick Rubin how to make it. Jazzy did the
Right.
record first, but he taught Rick Rubin, and Rick Rubin made it over, and
Mm,
and It's Yours was done, and then Rick Rubin took that record and gave it to LL,
mm,
and it blows up crazy after that. It's a wrap.
right. It looks like you in motion right now.
Yeah, I was in motion for a second, but I'm not no more.
Okay, cool. All right, we can keep going. Yeah, because like that record, that era, I think of two things. I want you to tell me how accurate they are. One is Wild Style, the movie
Right.
Wild Style.
Wild
And
Style was, you know, uh, a movie version of the emergence of hip hop, but it was great. It was a lot of people in it, breakdancing and all that. That was important. It was somewhat accurate,
somewhat,
somewhat.
yeah.
It's
Because
not pinpoint accurate. No.
like the Fab Five Freddy scene with
Yeah,
the
Fab is Fab got in the game. He came from Brooklyn, and then he was downtown. He was at the Roxy's. He was at all the fly downtown shit. And
Mhm,
he's rolling with Blondie and everything like that. He brings Blondie up to the Bronx to
right,
rock with Grandmaster Flash and all that. And that's where she
right,
started getting her lyrics from. And he was helping provide her with information about how this whole rap thing goes down. And she
right,
assimilated, and she was getting with the weed and everything else that was passing around and just getting with the culture.
right. Then the other thing was Rapture, the video Rapture,
Yeah,
because Basquiat is DJing in the and
exactly.
like yeah, and if you didn't know, it's like you talking about this time that's 1980,
Yeah,
81,
yeah.
right?
And and
There's no internet, there's no social media, there's no
no,
IG, there's none of
no.
that shit. Like
It's clubs.
if you don't know, you really don't know. So to see a
Yeah,
music video that represents what that culture could have been about, who was there, who were the participants,
right.
who were the
It
celebrities.
helped. It helped with the marketing and bringing it to another level
Mhm,
at that time. It helped expose you to hip hop because you had like Blondie and people in it that had a bigger audience, a broader audience already. And
mhm,
it opens the door just by being affiliated with her, just by her saying Fat Five Freddy in her record, or
mhm,
Flash is bad, Flash is good. Now people in Germany know who Flash is and all this kind of shit.
mhm,
So that's what's great about this whole thing. It keeps emerging, you know what I mean? And then Russell Simmons comes and brings it all the way to another level. And he's responsible for exposing people like McDonough and superstars, not only music superstars, but models, actors, and all kinds of stuff. You know, like what was Tougher Than Leather. You know, comes behind that, and all those
Yeah,
Run
Crush
DMC
Groove,
movies come. Yeah,
Crush Groove.
Crush Groove, everything. You
Yeah,
know, and all that stuff is, you know, partially true, but it's, you know, it's fiction.
yeah. No, it's a movie. It's definitely a
Right,
movie. You can't tell the whole story in an
right,
hour and a half, an hour and
right,
45 minutes. But for us, you know, it gave us imagination as to what it was to be like if you were in Queens, if you was in the Bronx, if you was,
right,
you know what I'm saying? You could see it, you could visualize it and have
right,
some idea. Like right now, everything is on your phone. I can see it in real time. Nigga, damn near it's holographic. You know, I can experience it in real time.
hmm
Then, you know, you heard about it. You might have heard it on a mixtape. You might
right,
have heard it on the radio, and then you have
right.
to wait a long time in between the next time you heard something.
Right,
It wasn't
right.
immediate, you know.
Especially if you live down south. If you lived in Queens, Brooklyn, the Bronx, you heard it, you know, and damn near real time, like after it was made. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like you said, it started off where we didn't have the internet, so you didn't get it in real time. Now you can get it in real time, everything. And so what that did was help influence the style of fashion. It made everybody equal in fashion. Before you had to come to New York. Now if you already knew what to buy because you seen LL with it. You knew
Yeah.
to buy the Kango. You knew to buy the thick gold chain. You knew to
Mhm.
buy the Troops or whatever kind of sneakers that he was promoting at that time, or
Mhm.
any other artists were promoting. So it brought people together. So now Japan, they understand, like, okay, I understand what hip hop is. I see how they dance, breakdancing. Now breakdancing is like an international thing.
Olympics and the whole nine.
Olympics in the whole nine. And I'm surprised they don't have a graffiti Olympics or whatever.
I'm
You know
sure
what I'm
they do.
saying?
But I'm sure they do because graffiti
Yeah.
is embraced worldwide. Like, you know,
Fat Pop Freddy makes art right now. And you
yeah.
know, he was a graffiti writer. And there was a bunch of people that were graffiti writers that are just starting to get their just due too. Like
Mhm.
hip hop is starting to pay homage to the OGs. It's starting you know, they're recognizing people that help push along the culture.
Yeah. What's your favorite era of fashion?
The 90s. But right now too. I think it is the emergence of the grown and sexy coming back, and you know, cause it got taken out of context. You know what I'm saying? Niggas with little hats and dresses on with a machine gun. That's not hot. We want to get back to getting dressed up, being fly,
Yeah.
rapping to the chicks. You know what I mean? Going in the club. These right now, you go in the club right now. There's a group of guys
It's
together
crazy.
talking about video games, and the chicks is over here by themselves with nobody taking care of them. And then you got one guy who's questionable over there
Uh-oh.
curating the females because these doofy niggas don't know how to do it
Yeah. Absolutely.
because they don't
Absolutely.
got no OG guidance right now. Like,
Yeah,
yo,
and,
yeah,
the culture needs to grow up and have adult
yeah.
conversations and be
And you know, the
adults.
fashion world don't care about us. They like, yo, wear a dress. Matter of fact, we make sure you got some shoes on that look like, you know, Mary had a little lamb
You
shoes
know
on.
they
You
will.
know, huh?
You know they will.
Yeah. And we're gonna give you a pocketbook, and it's cool to do that if that's what you do. But don't be influencing the whole culture to do that, man. We need to be getting back to um, grown men need to be grown men, and
Yep.
young men need to aspire to be grown men
Absolutely. Yeah.
and responsible. We don't need to be, you know, every record, but we wanted to promote the celebration of life. That's why we always talked about champagne and the
Yeah.
good life. And that's what Puff took from us and took it to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
Everything he did was about the outfit, your outfit, the champagne, what kind of car you drive, where you live, you know what I'm saying, where you come from. You know what I mean? That's why you got niggas lying saying they came from Harlem that came from fucking Cleveland somewhere. You know what I mean? Or Mount Vernon or the Bronx, like me and Andre did.
Yeah. Not well. That Harlem stamp, that Uptown stamp is you
Right.
know it is what it is. Like it's
Right.
the template. You know that's why Harlem World. You had to talk about Harlem World because so much culturally happened at you
But
know
you
like
had Harlem World, you had SNS, You had Thunderbird, Johnny's joint. You had all kinds of shit, man, in Harlem. Like, and they were after hour spots too. They weren't, you know what I mean? When SNS was in there, and he was probably in there, he might have been 17 years old.
Really? I might have been younger than that.
Yeah, he might have been younger than that. Brucey B and them, you know, when you go to the roller skating rink, what's the name of that? Uptown, the right across the street from Rucker. The rooftop.
The rooftop?
Yeah, the rooftop. So when you go to the rooftop, Puff Daddy damn near was 10 years old when niggas was in the rooftop.
Yeah, see, I was there. I was a young Jersey boy, so like I wasn't.
Brucey B was there. Brucey B was there. What's my man's name? Busy B Starsky was there. Both of the Starskys was there.
Love Bug Starsky and Busy B.
Love Bug, yeah, both of them was there. It was a big deal.
Wow,
it was a big deal. Hip hop came a long way, and it continues to grow. And now you're making billions. Yeah. Now you have the opportunity to make billions, even when you didn't have that opportunity yesteryear. And before, you couldn't be over 35 and be in the game. You got rappers right now at 65 years old resurging right now. Niggas is 60.
You know, I know. Shit, I started rapping seriously when I was like 18, 19. Seriously.
Right.
We got our deal when I was 25. We got our deal. My limit was, if I don't get my deal by the time I'm 30, I'm retiring.
Right.
Nigga, yeah, right. Nigga.
Right. Ain't gonna be no retirement.
Life is a career. This is what it is.
It's a career, and it's a lifetime career too. And you want to be a part of it when it's fun. You don't want to be a part of it when it's dangerous, when it's not sexy. You got a bunch of guys huddled up, and there's no women in there, or no people that are different. You know what I mean? Like it's not cool.
Listen, we should be using the party, because you know the Democratic Party, Republican Party, they had these caucuses where they party.
Right.
But you there building and networking and thinking something positive. You having a great time. You doing all you know. Nobody is more reckless than politicians. They get it in worse than everybody.
Right.
But when you got another agenda that's grown, you can make organizing grown and sexy.
Right.
Because when you talk about Uptown Records, Uptown Records, you talk about Def Jam Records, you talk about Bad Boy Entertainment, you talk about as much.
But one thing we have to talk
there's a lot of organization going on too.
Yeah. One thing I didn't talk about was Cold Chillin' and Fly Tie, Mr. Magic's input in the whole thing. There would be no records on the radio, period, if it wasn't for Fly Tie, Mr. Magic. And Cold Chillin' Records, Roxanne Shante, MC Shan, and my man Big Daddy Kane, and Cool G Rap, and Marley Marl, and all of that.
The Juice Crew.
The Juice Crew.
Yeah.
Craig G, Master Ace. Shout out to all of them. You know what I mean? Like, because you worked the circuit. If you was working down south, the Chitlin circuit, you always seen the same people. You was always seeing the same people raising up the culture.
Yeah, I'm glad you shouted that out. That's a very important shout out, because the Juice Crew, Fly Tie, Mr. Magic, Rap Attack on BLS.
Right.
Like that was that, you had Kiss going on it as well, but Mr. Magic was first, right?
Right.
In terms
WHR, where the Awesome Twins started doing their thing.
Wow. You had WHR
Awesome too.
And you had WHBI, Awesome Two, Special K Teddy Ted.
Yep. Mr. Magic was there first.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I remember when Nas was saying that he missed Mr. Magic, because Mr. Magic was like a special dude, man, that really opened the door for hip hop, and he was unapologetic for anything. You know what I mean? And he kicked in the door, and that's when a time where they had the mafia putting pressure on you and everything, and hip hop didn't give a fuck.
Yeah. I heard Fly Todd tell stories of them doing just that, forcing their way on the radio station. Like,
Yeah.
program director want them to switch it up, and it's like, nah,
Yeah.
we just what we doing. You just got to bear with
Frankie
it.
Crocker would come in his office and Mr. Magic would have his feet on his desk and be drinking a beer. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Frankie
That's when
Crocker,
Frankie used to
Frankie
go bananas on niggas. And Mr.
Frankie
Magic ain't give a
Crocker,
fuck. Right.
Frankie Crocker is one of the most gangster motherfuckers
Word.
fucking
And
ever. You
got
said,
gangster too.
yeah, and got gangstered.
Because
Wow.
we were living in a world of gangsters. The music and gangsters go hand in hand.
Right.
Soon as you get successful, you're gonna get reached out to. Even
Gangster.
now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And you
Wow.
know, you get accustomed to that.
That was one of the questions I actually missed when we was talking about the 70s,
Mhm.
and that, the impact of gangsterism, gangs,
Oh my
and
God.
hip hop being birthed out of gang culture.
Being birthed out of gang culture, you might catch a beat down, and then somebody else might catch a beat down that beat you down. It was volatile. And if you was just you had to outthink. That's what I think Uptown did. Andre Harrell wasn't a violent guy, but he outsmarted these guys.
Yeah.
And then we had something called the invisible force field. You will not be invited because you would not know. There's no way for you to know. Suge Knight, you're not invited. You can't find the spot to fuck it up because you're not invited. You don't know nobody that is. You on the other side. And there was a whole industry of people that was never invited to absolutely nothing. They just heard about it afterwards.
Yeah.
You ain't had that problem. You was invited.
I never had that problem.
Right.
Never had. Well, early.
Right.
I was still a fan.
Right.
But even before Channel Live, it was
Right. Niggas
it-
was hanging out waiting to get in the club. That's when you was waiting online and shit.
the building powerhouse.
Yeah.
When
And you got tired of that shit. Life.
when you talk about the Roxy, I call like the third rendition of the Roxy.
Right.
Like later on. But Studio 54, I caught Father MC at Studio 54.
Right. And I at that time I was only in Studio 54 one time.
Yeah. Cause you remember Studio 54 from the first time.
Right. But my brother and them used to go to the garage. That was on a whole nother level. I dressed like I was from Uptown. And that's a no-no.
Right.
When you come downtown. They're not having it. You're not coming in there with that.
That's crazy.
That shit definitely used to be hard to get in if you was from Uptown. You didn't want to see no shell-toe Adidas and none of that shit.
Nah. Wow. Damn. No. So wait, the first Studio 54, did you caught that though?
I caught it, but I was in there one time. Like I said.
Okay.
And
all
then
right.
the second one.
What was going on? What was going on with it the first time?
Oh, it was at another level. It was Michael Jackson, Mick Jagger.
Right.
It was at a whole nother swerve. And we was just coming in the game, not being like you. Yeah. Nah. We don't want to see you with no blazer, hard bottom shoes, and we don't want to see you with no shell toes and no big ass Dookie rope chain and a velour hat. We don't want to see none of that.
Nothing.
There was nothing you could do unless you came in there with just a whole different outfit, looking like John Travolta in Saturday Night Fever.
See, I'm glad you saying this because the distinction in New York City in terms of what was going on uptown versus what's going on downtown. You think of New York City, you think, oh, it's all the same thing. Nah, it's different. Different cultures happening different places. Right. When you talk about hip hop culture, being an uptown Bronx thing, and it had to work its way downtown.
Right.
Like, that's important.
And also Brooklyn. Brooklyn was right there. So the Brooklyn cats were even more exposed to a broader sense of music, whether it was from hip hop or whatever. You know what I mean? They got a chance to home in because they're right there. Yeah. Geographically, that makes a lot of difference. You know what I mean? Your influences. They hung on Delancey Street. We went to Freeman Street, Uptown and Simpson Street.
Delancey Street is in Manhattan
Yeah.
with much flyer gear than Simpson Street, that where they had the fucking clothes and they were fake, what you call it, counterfeit clothes, and then you pick up your quarter feel and your pants off the floor. You know, they had all that shit on the floor. And Richie, who owned One Oak and all that, is his grandmother is Rosie. She started that shit uptown. Now you go downtown in Delancey Street, it's a whole nother thing going on. Another whole nother level of mock necks, bally shoes, you know what I mean? Matador pants or silk pants, straight legs, or
Now,
bell bottoms,
British Walkers, what would they be
British
considered?
walkers, you
All
know
right.
what I mean? Then we get British walkers uptown, you know, a year or two later or 5 years later. And now we got a floor shine store that's selling British
British
walkers
Walkers.
and fucking Playboys.
Yeah.
And, and these
Sweet,
kids ain't
sweet. Did you guys
interested
rock the
in
Swedish knits with the pleats on the side
the
though?
Swedish knits, the
Yeah.
Swedish knits shirts
The
and the
Swedish
Swedish knits
knits,
pants.
and you get a matching mock neck
Yeah,
joint. And
mock
a
neck,
fucking,
exactly,
yeah,
and a
yup.
suede front.
Suede front.
Yeah, you
Killing the
know,
game.
yeah,
Killing it.
yeah. So we had velour hats. Philly niggas had beaver hats and Maury's and all that shit. We ain't fuck with Maury's like that. Maybe some niggas from Brooklyn did, but we ain't fuck with no Maury's like that.
Wow.
And Maury's is the Gators and the Gator fronts and, you know, $5,000 Gators and all that shit with different lime green, pink, and all that pimp shit. You know what I mean? We wanted to look like Fred Williamson or some nigga from across 110th Street, the movie.
Yeah.
Our whole influence was based on Harlem
Hall.
gangsters that was
Yeah.
educated, that had a certain look, like Fred Williamson. They had a certain look. You know what I mean? He was different from Jim Brown.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, he was different. And that's what we wanted to represent. And so when we bring it uptown, we get the cat. The cat is drawn by D Ferg. I mean, yeah, D Ferg. ASAP Ferg is his son.
Right.
And he does the first Uptown logo. And it's the cat with the beeper, with the Nike at the Rucker Park. That's where it's supposed to be at. Later on, we put a car behind him, but he was at the Rucker. And he went to the rooftop. And it was the attitude of the rooftop that influenced us. The
Wow.
young, successful gangster or educated person, you know,
Now,
that
give me a timestamp so for the people to know we talk about the rooftop across the street from the Rucker at this particular time. Like what's
so that's like 1984, 86.
okay?
84, 86. That's where it basically started around there. And when no, before that, so you had in 1979, 80, you had Teddy Riley, who was about to make or had already made the show, I believe.
Dougie
And he
Fresh.
was about 14, 15 years old.
That was
Dougie
80,
Fresh and Slick Rick.
right. That was 84, 85.
Yep. So you have him, and he's making that, and he's already a star in Harlem, a local star doing all the artists there. You know, he did Rob Bass and all kinds of Big
Yeah.
L, all of them before they even, when they was kids. And, you know, he did Casanova by, you know, Levert. And that became
Casanova.
a huge hip hop record, you know. Rap's New Generation, you know, that was Casanova. You know, and the only real producer that was on Teddy's level was Marley Marl. Marley Marl was making smashes
Yeah,
with
nah, I
Roxanne
thought that
Shante and all the things he did. And he was
yeah,
down with the original Uptown crew too.
really.
Yeah.
Marley Marl was.
Yep.
That's interesting. That's
So all three
interesting.
of them made this record called Mr. Big Stuff.
Uh-huh.
All three of them. So it's Teddy Riley, Marley Marl, and Eddie F.
Wow. In
Yep.
the studio together, they made that record.
Nah, separately. You
Separately.
know, yeah, separately. Mixes, adding production to it, and the whole
Gotcha.
nine.
All right.
Yeah.
Wow. That's something for the history books right there, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to tell you. This is a 3-part series, huh?
Yeah, as we just I like I didn't even get to like none really the 90s, late
Right.
90s,
You can't. It's
2000,
too. It's too
and what you
extensive.
and what you doing now.
Right. And just a little something about what I'm doing now. I won a Grammy, and me and DST won a Grammy for the Defiant Ones, the story of Dr. Dre and Jimmy Iovine on HBO.
Congratulations,
Yeah,
congratulations
and
to
then
that. Salute, salute,
at
salute.
another time, I did the Tupac Dear Mama doc with Alan Hughes. I was a producer on that, and
Yeah,
we got nominated for 2 Emmys and a Grammy, but I didn't win this time.
congratulations, congratulations, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Yes,
So I've
sir.
been doing films with Alan Hughes for about 17 years.
Hmm, man.
We're working on something right now. And so I do a lot of music and production, film production, and also I manage a lot of producers as well. So,
Mhm.
like I said, I do. I'm in contact with the original Uptown crew, and we putting together a whole campaign. Along with, I'm working with Vincent Herbert right now, and
My
just
guy,
got a
Jersey's in the building.
yeah. Shout
Yeah.
out to him, and we just been working on Christopher Williams,
Wow.
and
Now
he's
that's a
coming out with some new product, and we putting it out in a way
can't
where it
wait for
makes
that.
sense, and it's
Can't wait
not
for
just
that.
going to be thrown out there for people to, it's going to be like smash hit records coming.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
And at
The
this point right
combination sounds
now,
ridiculous.
the cool is if you cool at any age, you can make a record. But you gotta know your limits and all that kind of shit. And you gotta know,
Mhm.
um, you gotta really feel it though. You know what I mean? You can't just go in the studio at 60 and start making records. You gotta make sure that you got a targeted audience. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And that these people, because when you think of 25 to 55, they want to go out. They got jobs. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? They have disposable income that will allow them to do
Yeah.
more than what their kids do. You know what I mean? Go to concerts. They want to get dressed up in the
Mhm.
'90s. That's their favorite time of music.
Yeah. Adult content.
Yeah,
There's certain people, some of which are my friends, who have this thing. Old niggas need to stop rapping. Don't nobody want to hear rap from an old nigga. And I'm
right,
like, that don't make sense. Artists create art.
right. And if
There
you
is
hot,
no,
you hot. Like I
and
said,
you hot, but there's no age limit on art, and artists should create art. Now, is everything for business? Nah, and everything's not for business. But if that's what you're trying to do, yeah, you craft it to meet the needs of business. Yeah, but artists should create art. We should be creating stuff,
that's
and then
true.
out of the love of being an artist, you'll find the shit that's gonna work.
Yeah, and the business is going to come to you if it's great art. The business is going to come to you. You don't have
Yeah,
to go around doing anything. Like you got, for instance, you look at DJ Cassidy. You know what I mean, and look how big he is out of
right.
you know
Yeah,
just being a part of this, just
yeah,
being
yeah,
affiliated with Dougie Fresh and Uptown Records and Andre Harrell. He made the Champagne and Bubbles Volume
yeah.
1 and 2 with Andre.
Hmm.
That put him on a trajectory that allowed him to go to the next level,
And tour around the world with it.
tour
Like,
around the world. Him and D
yeah.
Nice.
Oh my God. D Nice took it to a whole nother level.
Yeah,
From
they
music to
both. They,
photography.
yeah,
Now he's the DJ of note right now. His cultural impact is undeniable at 50 plus.
right. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. And those people still want to go out. They're not dead. They want to go out and
Mhm.
celebrate. They just want to be somewhere safe where nothing is going to pop off or no young boy shit is going to get out of hand. They want to be somewhere safe.
Yeah, absolutely. Wait a minute. Is it too soon to talk about the your show?
Yeah. My thing is, it is because I
Okay.
I got into this gala and I want to make sure that I have enough information to even talk about it.
There you go. Okay. That's why I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
Yes,
I want
sir.
to make sure I have enough information to even talk about it. And
So we'll
you
say that
know,
for part. We'll say that for part two.
right, right.
Yeah, man.
And I'll come straight out of the box with it.
Uh-huh. Absolutely. Yo, man, I appreciate you, big bro.
Yes, sir, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate you as well, man. And
Yeah.
anytime.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, we're gonna line up part two,
All
and
right.
in part three right after, because we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I want to bring Father MC on there with me.
Oh, please, come on. Please, let's do that.
Yeah.
All
I
right. Well,
want to
will
be
you let me know?
because he's
You
happy.
let me.
He's happy. He's ready to rock and roll.
All right. Will you let me
You
know
know?
when it is
Yeah,
done?
because he's experiencing a resurgence right now of his music and everything,
Yeah.
especially in Europe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Deservedly so, man. Like I said, that's one of my favorite artists from that era. Like 1988 for me is the greatest year in hip hop for me.
Right,
Where
right,
I was at in my life. Like I said, I
right,
caught him at Studio 54, like right around that time. And as a fan and just as a person in the culture, enjoying the culture for what it is, his art, like he got bars, his flow is crazy. He was dancing and moving around and still coming back to the mic and spitting that fire. He's
right,
giving you something for the ladies, but a lot of people when they start rhyming for the ladies, it don't be coming off right. But he made that shit
right,
like grown man talk, like,
right.
and I appreciated that about him. And so when I saw you guys at the Rock the Bells joint in Newark, New Jersey this past summer, I'm like, yeah, that's Father MC. I fanned out for a second.
Right, right,
Yeah, yeah,
right.
yeah.
He would
Absolutely.
love to hear that though, because it's just even recently. He's like, "Yo, I'm just coming to do work, man. I'm gonna make them feel me again.
Yeah,
I'm coming to do work every time I step on that stage." And
yeah,
he's prepared and ready to rock right off the bat.
yeah.
Yep.
All right, will you let me know when we doing that one, and
All
and
right.
then and that's what we'll do.
And I'll be somewhere more situated the next time too. I hope you editing some of these parts out.
Yeah,
Or
I
you
figured
just go,
because earlier you had the commercial for the Marshalls bag on the joint, so I'm probably gonna just take your picture and cover that part when I edit it
right.
up.
Yeah. Next time tell me too.
Oh yeah, I thought you was just trying to hide. I was like, you know what? You was dropping jewel. I ain't want to interrupt your flow. Just let you do your thing. But I'll
I
fix it
get
anyway.
well, I don't want to be filming and I got the closet door open over my head and you seeing all the
Okay,
stuff that's in my closet
next
or the
time.
Marshall's
Yeah,
bag. I
well,
just
you
want to
wasn't
keep.
looking at your phone. You didn't look at your. I figured you did it on purpose. You just didn't want to
No,
be on
absolutely
camera.
not.
So
I'm not promoting Marshalls unless they write me a check, my
there
man.
you go. All right, there
There's
you
no
go. Well, listen.
promoting nobody unless you're like,
Uh,
there's
uh,
what's in it for me too.
yeah, thank
This
you.
work ain't free.
I got you though. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take your photo that you sent me. We'll take that flyer and
Hmm.
put that in place of it, so you just hear the audio. That's
Okay,
how we'll do it. Yeah.
that's
But
lovely.
I'm gonna clip up these parts where it's your face. So we got some good content. I'll clip them up and tag you in it so you could be a collaborator on Instagram and whatever.
All right,
My dude.
all right, Hop.
Yes, sir.
I'll set up the thing also with Father, so we can
Yeah.
go over a real history thing, and we'll all three of us will be online.
Okay. There it is.
All right, Doctor.
Peace to God.
Peace. One.